Discover 7 incredible, life-changing traits of daughters raised by narcissistic parents revealed. Emma stood frozen on the sidewalk, gripping the crumpled flyer that fluttered in the evening breeze. Her heart raced with both dread and excitement. A support group specifically for daughters like her daughters shaped by the weight of narcissistic parenting. Could this really be the spark she needed to ignite change? Besides the pristine white picket fences dotting the suburb, their glossy paint held secrets, just like Emma, a humble 28-year-old nurse, was a secret of her own. Every day at the hospital, she poured herself into the care of others, her hands steady as she bandaged wounds and soothed fears, yet inside, she battled a storm. A whispering doubt clung to her, a haunting echo of her parents' voices that had dampened her spirit for as long as she could remember. "You're not good enough," they had told her, whenever she dared to dream. But here, maybe, just maybe, she could find a flicker of hope. As soon as Emma entered the cozy meeting space, an unexpected warmth wrapped around her. Familiar faces sat in a circle, their stories weaving a tapestry of shared pain and resilience. The group leader, a retired Marine with a calmness that soothed frayed nerves, began the session. "You're not alone," he said, his voice filled with strength. With each conversation, Emma felt remnants of her past begin to lift, slowly revealing a tenacious spirit she had long forgotten. In the ensuing weeks, Emma started to transform. She spoke openly, explored the scars left behind by her upbringing, and began to cherish her true self for the first time. But soon, a hard gust of reality swept through her picturesque town. A significant economic downturn threatened local businesses. Fear gripped her heart. This was her community, the very people she had spent her life caring for. Yet, whispers from her parents creeped back into her mind, "Stay out of it. Don't ruin our image." Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emma stood at a crossroads, her heart pounding. She felt a surge of determination, and with newfound authority, she organized a community cleanup event. Thousands of debris-filled streets awaited, needing love just as she did. As she rallied her neighbors, however, the pressure mounted. The moment she saw her parents at the event, the familiar suffocating weight of expectation crashed down on her. In the confrontation that spiraled from her mere existence of independence, their accusations pierced through her. "You're shaming us," they yelled, their voices echoing through the once supportive crowd. The emotional storm within her threatened to drown her will. But just when despair almost overpowered her, she remembered the grounding sentiments shared in her support group. Forgiveness. Self-acceptance. Can Emma truly break free and embrace her true self? The dust from the confrontation settled, but uncertainty loomed. People looked to her, yearning for guidance. Would she allow her parents' toxic legacy to bind her, or would she rise like the beacon of hope her community needed? As she stood poised to take the next step, she felt the whisper of doubt return. Would she find the strength to shatter the chains of her past? Emma took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moment. The tension from her parents' outburst still buzzed in the air, and she felt eyes on her, heavy with expectation and uncertainty. But beyond the looks of shock and disappointment from her family, there were glimmers of hope in the faces of her neighbors. They were counting on her. In that moment, she realized that their need for change outweighed the fear that gripped her. "Listen," Emma finally said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I'm not ashamed of wanting to help. If that shames you, then we need to have a serious conversation." The words hung in the air, charged with the weight of her internal struggle, but they also sparked something in her. A roaring desire to be seen, to be heard. As murmurs arose among the crowd, a woman stepped forward, a single mother with weary eyes but an unwavering spirit. "Emma's right," she exclaimed. Look at this place. We can't just let it wither away. There's strength in our community. We need leaders, not just followers. The woman's words were like a ember igniting tinder, and gradually, others joined in, voicing their support. Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest, enveloping her like a hug she didn't know she needed. Was it possible? Could she actually inspire this change? The once daunting challenge now felt exhilarating. As her heart hammered against her ribcage, she continued, together, we can create something beautiful here, for our children, for ourselves. Let us revitalize our streets and show our community what we're made of. She saw faces nodding and voices rising. Encouragement filled the air. For the first time, Emma felt like she belonged, a vital thread woven into the fabric of her community. Still, amid this hopeful surge, she felt an unsettling knot in her stomach whenever she turned to face her parents. They stood frozen, faces drawn tight in disbelief. Did they truly not see the power of what was unfolding? As the event progressed, people started organizing and planning their efforts. Emma's spirits lifted higher, even as the shadows of her past loomed close. She glanced over her shoulder, catching her mother's gaze. The look of disapproval there felt like a sucker punch, knocking the wind out of her. But she took a deep breath and looked away, returning her focus to the people who were pulling her toward a brighter future. Days turned into weeks. The cleanup event blossomed into a movement, breathing new life into the community. Emma found herself leading more gatherings, forming bonds with her neighbors that transformed her once lonely existence. Support group meetings continued to ground her, providing an outlet for her struggles and a source of inspiration, but just as she began to believe in her burgeoning identity, a knock came at her door. Standing on the porch were her parents, their expressions a mix of anger and hurt. You need to stop this. Her father barked. Emma's heart sank, feeling the old fears rise again. Why can't you see, she whispered, barely above a breath. This is who I am now. Who you are is just a shadow of our family. Her mother's voice cut through Emma's resolve like a sharp blade. In that moment, everything felt as if it was teetering on a precipice. Would she collapse under the weight of their expectations, or would she stand her ground, firmly rooted in the woman she was becoming? As Emma caught her breath, the swell of voices from her community echoed in her thoughts. She had a choice to make, and with the stakes higher than ever before, she glanced at her parents, hurt but no longer afraid. Was this the moment she would finally push back for good, or would she drown once again in the narrative written for her? The air hung heavy with anticipation as she opened her mouth to speak. Stop this? Emma echoed, drawing strength from the very disbelief that weighed on her parents' faces. I can't just stand by and let everything stay the same. This community matters. Her voice grew firmer with each word, fueled by the memories of her neighbor's determination and hope. Her father's jaw tightened, a flicker of disbelief flashing in his eyes. You think playing community leader is the answer? You don't know the first thing about leadership. Emma felt a familiar sting, but she pushed anger and hurt aside. I may not know everything, but I've learned that it starts with listening. I've heard our neighbors. They have stories, dreams, they want what's best for their families. Dreams don't pay the bills, Emma, her mother interjected, her voice laced with worry. You need to be practical. This community is too far gone. You should focus on your future, not waste time on fantasies. They're not fantasies, Mom. Emma shouted, anger spilling over, surprising even herself. They are real struggles. People are ready to fight for their homes. They just need someone to stand with them. A silence fell in the air, thick and heavy. Her parents exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. In that moment, doubt crept in, and the old voices whispered in her head, what if they were right? But just as quickly, her neighbors came to mind, the determination in their eyes, the pride swelling in their chests when they spoke about rebuilding their community. A spark ignited inside her. I'm not backing down. And if you can't support me, maybe you don't understand who I am at all. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, blurring the vision of her parents' pained expressions. She blinked away the moisture and stood taller. I love you both. But I have to do this. For the first time, I feel like I have a purpose. This isn't just a phase. This is my life now. Her mother looked away, pain written all over her face, while her father shifted uncomfortably, his hands clenching and unclenching at his sides. We want you to succeed, Emma, he finally said, his voice deeper but softer, like the rumble of distant thunder. But you need to understand the consequences. This will change everything. I know, Emma replied quietly, her heart pounding. Maybe that's what needs to happen. As her parents stepped back, clearly still grappling with her choices, Emma felt a life-altering courage surging through her veins. She had chosen her path, and despite the fear that loomed, she no longer felt imprisoned by their expectations. Once she closed the door, the weight of their judgment slipped off her shoulders. Taking a deep breath, she turned around to face her living room, a space once dominated by the silence of her solitude, now filled with potential. She grabbed her phone and texted the group, her fingers racing over the screen, meeting tonight. We need to talk about next steps for the community garden. The responses came flooding in, enthusiasm reigniting the flame in her heart. As she set out to prepare for the meeting, though, a nagging thought prickled at her mind. What if her parents decided to take matters into their own hands? As the clock ticked closer to evening, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a battle much larger than she had anticipated. With a swiftly beating heart, she glanced at the door again, wondering what might come next. Would she be able to protect her newfound mission, or would her parents' doubts stifle her resolve once more? The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm golden light through the windows of Emma's living room. She arranged the chairs in a circle, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and dread. Each time the door swung open, her stomach twisted. This wasn't just a gathering, it felt like a call to arms. The first to arrive was Jason, his blue eyes full of enthusiasm. I'm in, he said with a grin, his confidence infectious. I spread the word. People are eager to help. Emma smiled but couldn't shake off the tension clinging to her like a shadow. Thanks, Jason. I really hope this works. One by one, neighbors trickled in, filling the space with chatter, laughter, and the scent of homemade cookies brought by Mrs. Turner. Emma's heart warmed at the sight of familiar faces she had grown to care for deeply. These were the people who had dedicated themselves to keeping the spirit of their community alive, despite the looming threat of change. As everyone settled, Emma cleared her throat, a spark of determination igniting within her. Thank you all for being here. I know things have been tough, but I believe we have a chance to make a real difference with this garden. A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Encouraged, she pressed on. It's not just about plants or flowers, it's about community. We can create a space where our kids can play, where we can gather and support one another. This is about reclaiming our homes. Reclaiming our lives, Jason added, and the crowd erupted in cheers, the sound echoing off the walls, filling the room with hope. They discussed ideas for the garden, what to plant, how to fund it, and ways to involve everyone. Laughter punctuated the conversations as Emma felt the weight of her earlier doubt dissolve. This was where she belonged. But amid the energized discussions, a nagging voice in Emma's mind refused to be silenced. What if her parents really did intervene? What would happen if they tried to shut everything down? Just the thought threatened to steal the momentum from the night. Emma? A soft voice broke through her thoughts. It was Mrs. Turner. You're doing something wonderful. I just wanted you to know that. The sincerity in her voice tugged at Emma, stirring something deep within. She nodded, emotions stirring. They believed in her. As the meeting wrapped up, they decided on a plan, a community rally to raise awareness and gather support, potentially drawing in more volunteers. Everyone left with their spirits high, laughter trailing behind them as they stepped into the cool evening air. Emma lingered, taking it all in. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. Glancing down, her heart stopped. It was a message from her father. "We need to talk about your plans. Now." Her pulse quickened. Not the conversation she had hoped for. The happiness of the evening vanished, replaced by a new wave of dread. Emma took a deep breath, steeling her resolve. She couldn't let fear dictate her path. People were counting on her. But would her parents' influence shatter the momentum she had built? She bit her lip, pacing back and forth in front of the door. This was it. The crossroads where her family and her community collided. Emma's heart thundered as she glanced at the door one more time, her mind racing with possibilities. Would she find the courage to stand her ground against her parents, or would she be forced to make a choice between her family and her mission? Emma stood frozen, the phone still in her hand. The warmth from the gathering faded, replaced by a chill creeping up her spine. Now, the word echoed in her mind, weighty and ominous. She pictured her father's face, stern but worried, not understanding the good she wanted to do. Would he hear her out, or dismiss her dreams as foolish? Taking a deep breath, she stepped outside, the cool air biting at her skin. The evening sky was painted with colors of fiery orange and deep purple, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside her head. She marveled at nature's beauty, but all she could think about was the conversation looming ahead. Once she set foot in her family's yard, the familiar surroundings held no comfort. The tall oak tree that had always stood proud felt like an unwanted sentinel, watching as she prepared to face judgment. She crossed the threshold into her home, dread pooling in her stomach. Her parents sat in the living room, their expressions reflecting a mixture of concern and authority. "Emma." Her mother's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. "Your father wanted to talk to you about all of this." Taking a seat across from them, Emma felt the weight of their gazes. "I'm trying to do something good for the community," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "The garden will help us stay connected, bring us together." "Emma," her father cut her off, leaning forward. "You can't seriously think that this is the answer. Things are changing, and you need to focus on what really matters: your future." His words hit like stones. "My future? But this is my future. It's about building something, not just for me but for everyone." She could feel the fire rising in her chest, a mix of frustration and conviction. Her mother interjected. "We want what's best for you. You have such potential. You can't waste your time on a garden when there are bigger things at stake." "Bigger things?" Emma echoed, a tremor of disbelief coursing through her. "You think that a garden is a waste? It's about community. It's about creating a space where we can gather, heal, and support each other." Tears threatened to spill, her emotions fraying the edges of her resolve. "Sweetheart," her father softened his tone, but it was too little, too late. "We just want you to pursue your dreams realistically. You're not seeing the bigger picture." Frustration boiled in her heart, and she stood up abruptly. "No, you're not seeing it. This is my reality. This is what I want." The anger and hurt broke free, spilling over. In that moment, she felt a shift inside her. Was she ready to fight for herself, to stand firm against the familiar obstacles her parents represented? But the fear of their disappointment clawed at her. "I have to make you understand," Emma continued, her voice shaking but passionate. "If you can't support me on this, then I don't know how we can move forward." The silence that followed weighed heavy in the air. They exchanged glances, the anticipation between them crackling like electricity. "Emma," her mother started, but Emma wasn't ready to hear anything else. "What if you're wrong?" She cut in, feeling the courage swell deep from within. "What if this garden becomes the very thing that brings us all back together?" Her parents fell quiet, contemplating her words, uncertainty clouding their expressions. Emma's heart raced, not knowing the outcome, but yearning for validation. As the tension buzzed, a soft sound broke through the silence, her phone buzzing again. She glanced down, a new message lighting up the screen. Emma barely managed to suppress her gasp. It was Jason, but his message held urgency, a plea. "Emma, we need you here. Something's happening with the rally." Emma's heart dropped. What was happening? Was she ready to step back into the light? The path before her suddenly twisted once more, intertwining her family's expectations with her community's hopes. Would she go back and face whatever storm awaited her, or face the storm brewing at home? "Just give me a moment," she said, needing space to sort through the chaos around her and within. In that instant, she knew the battle was far from over. Would her resolve hold as she stepped into whatever challenge awaited her, or would she find her courage faltering when it mattered most? Emma felt the weight of the decision crushing down on her. The message from Jason pulsed in her hand, demanding attention, but the tension at home anchored her in place. What if her community needed her now? What if she was the only one who could make a difference? Taking a breath, she pushed her emotions aside, focusing on the urgency of the moment. "I have to go," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The firmness surprised her, but it felt right, as if she were finally choosing her own path. "What's happening, Emma?" her father asked, concern cutting through the haze. "It's about the rally," she replied quickly, feeling the knot in her stomach tighten. "Something's happening, and I have to be there." She cast a quick glance at her parents, searching for understanding, but their expressions remained conflicted. Emma turned toward the door, intent on leaving, but her mother's voice stopped her. "Wait," she said, and Emma felt a flicker of hope. "Can't we talk about this? About your future first?" "Mom, please." Emma faced them both, her heart racing. "This is my future too. I can't stand by and do nothing. Not when my community is counting on me." The air felt thick with unsaid words. Her parents exchanged looks, and for a moment, she saw uncertainty in their eyes. But then her father came back with, "We just want you safe, Emma. Rallying is dangerous." "Dangerous?" Emma scoffed, fire igniting within her once again. "What's dangerous is staying silent when we have a voice. What's dangerous is letting fear dictate our lives. I've made my choice." With each word, she felt the weight lift, exhilaration coursing through her. "Emma," her mother began, desperation lining her tone. "No," Emma said, the finality surging through her. "I'm trying to change things. That means stepping out of my comfort zone." She paused to take a breath. "And you should respect that." Silence enveloped the room again, but this time, it was different. She could sense the shifting balance. Her parents were grappling with something deeper, caught between their longing to protect her and their realization that they might have to let her fly. "Okay, then," her father finally said, wariness creeping into his voice. "If you feel this strongly, we can't stop you. But just be careful." The air shifted, a crack forming in their rigid expectations. Gratitude washed over Emma, but fear lingered. What if she failed? What if they were right? She shook her head, dispelling the doubt. No more second-guessing. This was her chance. "Thanks," she murmured, her voice steadier now. "I have to go." Emma stepped out of the house, the cool night air performing a gentle embrace around her. With each determined step, she felt more alive, as if she were walking towards something she had once only dreamed about. The distant sound of her community's rally was like a heartbeat, thrumming insistently in her ears, guiding her home. As she reached the rally location, crowds were forming, human silhouettes blending into the night. Anxiety and anticipation collided within her. She had fought her parents, yes, but now she was stepping toward an uncertain fight for change. The nervousness began to transform into energy. "Emma!" Jason's shout pulled her from her thoughts. She turned to find him weaving through the crowd, eyes wide with excitement and purpose. "We need you." "What's happening?" she asked, urgency creeping back into her words. There are rumors, he said, breathless, that the council is about to shut us down. We need to rally everyone. This is our moment. Emma squared her shoulders, determination igniting her spirit. The garden seemed a world away now, but it was still part of this fight, part of the vision she had. Let us do this, she said, adrenaline pumping through her veins. She felt like she was standing at the edge of something massive. The stakes had risen, and she could sense the gravity of what lay ahead. In that moment, she realized not just what she stood for, but for whom she stood with. Could they really change things? As she fought her way through the crowd, she breathed in the hope swirling around her. Little did she know, the night would unveil truths she never expected. As the rally began to swell with voices, Emma sensed the energy shift again. Would her resolve hold when the storm hit? Would she uncover strength she didn't know she had? The rally was just beginning, but somewhere in the heart of it, an unexpected truth was lurking, ready to challenge everything she believed. The air buzzed with energy as the crowd gathered, their voices weaving together in a tapestry of hope and determination. Emma felt it alive, electric, like every cheer and chant thrumming through her veins. She moved further into the sea of bodies, each person a piece of the movement she had come to join. Over here. Jason waved her over to a group huddled closely, their faces painted with urgency and determination. Emma could see sheets of posters ready to be unfurled, mottled with slogans that rallied for change. The sight ignited a fire within her. What's the plan? She asked, her heart pounding with excitement. We need to amplify our voices, Jason replied. We have to show the council how many of us are here, standing together. If we wait too long, they'll think we're not serious. Emma nodded, catching the resolute glances from others surrounding her. She could feel their resolve mirrored in her own. They weren't just talking about issues, they were together in a way that shifted something deep within her. The doubts she had been holding on to began to slip away. Let us share stories, one woman shouted, her voice rising above the murmur. Feelings matter. We're so much more than just numbers. A ripple of agreement washed through the crowd, and Emma felt her heart squeeze. These were not just strangers, each person intertwined with her community, her home. Each story, a thread in the fabric of their united front. One by one, individuals began to step forward, reciting their struggles, their loves, their pain. Each tale layered over the last, building a symphony of shared experiences. Emma listened, captivated. There was a father, a mother, a teenager battling the silence that had long held them back. She felt their emotions pull tight and raw, the frustration, the hope, the unspoken fears. Let me share. Emma called out, surprising herself as she stepped forward, heart thudding audibly in her chest. Jason caught her eye, encouraging her with a nod. The crowd quieted expectantly, their attention shifting to her. I used to think we were powerless, she began, the tremor in her voice a reminder of the weight of her own fears. But being here tonight, I see how wrong I was. We have a voice, a chance to shape what happens next. My parents thought I should stay quiet, be safe, but I've realized what is truly dangerous is silence. It's time we raise our voices. Cheers erupted, fueling her spirit. The harmony of support washed over her. That feeling, the tether between them all, was more potent than any fear. As she stood there, something shifted in the air. Tension thickened and a sudden chill swept over the crowd. The sound of footsteps echoed ominously along the streets, growing louder. Emma instinctively knew something was coming. The energy in the crowd shifted, morphing from hope to apprehension. Murmurs rippled through the assembly, concern painting worried expressions on faces that had just moments before expressed jubilation. The warmth drained, replaced by a sudden surge of uncertainty. What is happening? She whispered to Jason, worry creeping in as she scanned the crowd for answers. I don't know, he said, eyes narrowing into the distance. But we need to stay united. Suddenly, a line of officials appeared, cutting through the throng with stern faces. Their uniforms glimmered under the dim lights of the rally, and Emma's stomach tightened. This was the moment they had all feared, the council coming to silence them. Her heart raced and her mind swirled. Would they stand their ground? Would they fight? Stay strong. Someone shouted, igniting sparkles of anger among the attendees, and in that instant, surrounded by her community and the surge of shared determination, Emma felt a fierce resolve take hold. They couldn't let fear snuff out their voices. But as the officials approached, her pulse quickened. Could their words really hold against the weight of authority? The outcome felt uncertain, and the stakes rose dramatically. Facing the unknown, Emma silently promised herself one thing: she would not falter. Not now. What if she had to confront the truth of her deepest doubts? Would she change the tide, or would the storm swallow them whole? The clash was about to begin, and Emma's heart raced with both fear and an undeniable call to action. The moment hung in the air, thick with tension and uncertainty. Emma's heartbeat thrummed in her ears as the officials marched forward, their expressions unyielding. She glanced at Jason, whose jaw clenched in unspoken determination. The crowd around her shifted, bodies tightening like coiled springs, an instinctual defense against the approaching threat. "Stand firm!" a tall man shouted, his voice commanding above the whispers and murmurs of fear. "We're here for a reason." The energy surged again, igniting a flicker of courage within Emma. She took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the collective spirit of the crowd, each inhale a reminder that they were not alone. People looked at one another, sharing silent vows this was a moment that demanded solidarity. As the officials drew closer, Emma could make out their intentions written plainly in their hard eyes. They didn't come to talk, they came to intimidate. The first officer, a woman with a stern face and a clipboard, stepped forward, raising her hand as if to demand silence. "By order of the council," she began, her voice carrying an edge that sliced through the air, "this assembly is deemed unauthorized. You are all to disperse immediately." The words hit like ice water, sending shivers across the crowd. They had anticipated this, the crackdown on their voices, their passion. Yet Emma felt a surge rise within her, a fierce need to stand against the intimidation. "Why are we not allowed to breathe life into our voices?" Emma shouted, her voice breaking through the despair thickening around her. "Why must we remain silent when our stories matter?" The crowd hesitated for a heartbeat, then a wave of agreement rolled through them. "We matter!" they echoed, a chorus of defiance that shook the ground beneath. The officer's facade cracked just a little, surprise flickering in her eyes. Emma saw it, that brief moment when authority met the raw force of communal resolve. She pushed forward, encouraged by the growing momentum. "We're not here to just be quiet," Emma continued. "These walls they built around us, they can't cage our hopes, our dreams. We are fighting for our future, for change." The crowd erupted into a roar, voices blending into a powerful wave that surged forward. Each chant echoed with new strength, and Emma felt herself carried along, buoyed by the passion coursing through her like fire. The officers exchanged bewildered glances, the weight of their uniforms suddenly feeling lighter under the intensity of the crowd's roar. Emma locked eyes with Jason again, and the determination in his gaze fueled her courage. Here they stood, together, arms linked, hearts pounding as one. They were a small army, stitched together by their stories, their pain, and a hope for a brighter tomorrow. But then, the stern officer raised her voice again, booming above the roar. "If you do not disperse, we will be forced to take action." Fear rippled through the assembly. But this time, it was met with determined defiance. A chant began to rise, it echoed off the walls surrounding them. "Together! Together! Together!" Each repetition chipped away at the fear. This was more than a rally now, it was a declaration of their rights, their collective strength. Emma stood taller, her hands trembling with adrenaline, but just as the energy reached its peak, sirens wailed in the distance. The sound sliced through the discord, sinking into their bones and edging on chaos. Emma felt panic rise, slipping into her throat like bitter bile. What would happen next? Would the police arrive to enforce the silence they had fought against? With the crowd swelling around her, Emma glanced back towards the officers, wondering if their fear had begun to wane. In that moment, she realized this was not just a fight against authority. It was a fight for their very essence, an assertion of power that could not be ignored. "Stay strong," she urged, searching each face for courage. "We're not done yet." But as the sirens crescendoed and shadows in uniforms loomed closer, she had to ask herself again, how far would they go? Would fear bring silence, or would their voices become a force they could not ignore? The line between hope and despair felt fragile, and Emma knew they were on the brink of something transformative. As the sirens grew louder, a heavy cloud of uncertainty pressed down on Emma and the crowd. The future felt like a fragile glass poised on the edge of a table, ready to shatter with the slightest push. Jason squeezed her hand tighter, his knuckles white. "What are we going to do?" he asked, his voice barely rising above the chaos. Emma could sense the ripple of fear in the crowd. It was a collective pulse of worry that twitched through the air. But she couldn't let it overwhelm her, not now. They had come too far, shared too many stories and too much pain to back down now. "Listen!" she shouted over the clamor, searching the sea of faces around her. "This is our moment to show them we won't be silenced. We have the power to change things." The crowd shifted, some eyes wide with fear, but others began to light up with renewed courage. She saw nods, small smiles, tiny sparks that ignited something deeper within the assembly. A nearby woman stepped forward. Her voice trembled, but it rang out like a bell in the noise. "What are they going to do? Send us home in shame? No. We deserve better than that." A loud cheer erupted in response. The sound rolled like thunder, echoing off the buildings that loomed above. Emma felt it wash over her, a wave of hope and determination fueled by the shared conviction that filled the space. The officers exchanged urgent glances, the tall woman gripping her clipboard like a lifeline. The panic in their eyes was suddenly palpable, and Emma realized they were losing control of the situation. "Stay together," she called, as she began to step forward again. "They want to divide us, but we are stronger united. Remember why we're here, each of our voices matters. Together." Someone shouted, and the word exploded from the throng. "Together! Together!" The chant soared high, filling every crack in the air. Emma felt the energy swirl around them, biting at the fear and replacing it with unwavering resolve. The sirens continued wailing, but now they felt distant, a mere reminder of the strength growing before her. With that power coursing through her, Emma stepped even closer to the officials, ready to confront whatever they had planned. "You may have uniforms and authority, but we have truth, and truth can't be silenced," she declared, her voice firm. The stern officer hesitated, confusion wrinkling her carefully composed face. Emma saw it clearly, the crack in their armor. It was a chance to strike a decisive blow. "If you think you can scare us into silence, you're mistaken," she shouted, adrenaline thrumming in her veins. The crowd rallied behind her, voices rising in a crescendo. And then something unexpected happened. A shadow shifted from the corner of her eye, an older man, frail yet determined, who stepped out from the back of the line. "It's time for truth," he shouted, his voice shaky yet resolute. "I lost years of my life pretending to be quiet. I wish I had stood up sooner." His admission sparked something within the crowd, a wave of memories and experiences, shared struggles erupting into the open. Emma watched as others began to step forward, sharing their stories, their pain. Each voice added to the chorus, building momentum, weaving an undeniable tapestry of collective strength. For a long moment, the world felt suspended in the air. Etched in the faces turned toward her were reflections of hope, anger, and determination that intertwining like roots reaching deeply into the ground, but just when it seemed they were gaining undeniable power, a shadow moved again, this time larger and looming. A line of police cars, their lights flashing in a blinding display, pulled into view, sirens blaring, a physical representation of authority and power that seemed to stare them down. Emma felt her breath hitch. Would this be the end? Would they fall back into silence, or would they rise to meet this new challenge head-on? As the wheels ground to a halt, a heavy tension settled in the air. This moment would decide everything. She turned to Jason and the crowd, heart racing, eyes blazing. Are we going to let them take our voices? That question clung to the air, thicker than smoke, as everyone awaited their answer. And in that moment, the fate of their dreams hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of bravery or surrender. As the police car's lights flooded the area with a harsh neon glow, Emma stood resolute, heart pounding. She had come too far, seen too much change unfold, to let fear dictate her fate now. A hush fell over the crowd. The tension was electric. Every eye was on her, and she could feel the weight of their expectations resting on her shoulders. Do we let them take our voices? Emma echoed again, more demanding now. Do we let them silence us? Or do we raise our voices and show them that we are a community united? A surge of energy rippled through the crowd, igniting a fire that sliced through the stillness. No! They shouted in unison, a fierce roar that punctuated the night. Emma felt herself lifted by their collective spirit. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about every person behind her, each individual fueled by the hope for a better future. The stern officer advanced a few steps, her clipboard shaking slightly in her hands as she surveyed the sea of determined faces. You need to disperse right now. She demanded again, voice level but beginning to crack under pressure. Your gathering is illegal. Why? Emma challenged, stepping forward. Because we dare to speak? Because we dare to care about our community? The words felt liberating as they poured from her mouth. You may think you have the power, but power lies in truth. This community matters. We matter. The crowd erupted again, a tsunami of voices echoing her sentiments. We matter. We matter. With each chant, the police officers' resolve seemed to waver, their expressions breaking from strict authority into something almost human. Confused by the swell of passion they encountered in the throng, Emma caught sight of her parents standing at the back, their faces a swirl of emotions: anger, fear, pride. Did they understand now how important this was? Could they finally see the strength in her heart that had broken free from their chains? Listen, the officer urged, trying to regain control. If you don't disperse, we will be forced to take action. Her voice was firm, but there was a hint of uncertainty. Then take action. Emma shouted, adrenaline heightening her voice. But know this, we will not fold. We will not go home quietly. We will stand together. We will advocate for our lives, our homes, and our community. The chant built, each repetition morphing the fear into a solid wall of defiance. Together. 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 The chorus swelled, and for a moment, time stood still, echoing with the pulse of their unity. Just then, Emma's heart skipped as she noticed Jason stepping past her, resolute. He raised his own hand. Each of us has faced moments when we felt alone, moments when we thought we couldn't fight back. But we're here now, together. His declaration set even more voices surging. This isn't just about a garden. It's about our lives. Our right to live without fear. In that instant, the air crackled, and they transformed from a group of individuals into a singular entity, powerful, unwavering, a force to be reckoned with. Let us show them who we are. Emma proclaimed, breaking through the haze of anxiety that had begun to suffocate her. With every story, every moment we struggled, we rise. Together, we can challenge the very fabric of what makes us believe we are less than this moment. The crowd erupted in fervor, unfurling their voices into an unstoppable wave. There were moments of calling out names, stories spilling into the air. This was their declaration of existence, a vibrant reminder that they were more than simply faces lost in the crowd. They were a community, raw and alive, unafraid to take a stand. As the police officers exchanged worried glances, hesitation had taken root in their ranks. The air felt thick with recognition. This collective might, this unity, was unfurling like a blooming garden of defiance, one that couldn't be silenced, one that refused to dim. Then, in a twist of fate, the officer in charge stepped back, her clipboard shaking slightly in her hands, resilience faltering. Emma could see it in her eyes. They had come to intimidate, but instead, they had met an unexpected force. The tension in the air shifted from oppressive authority to an acknowledgement of shared humanity. We can't be silent in the face of injustice. Emma continued, emboldened by the energy. We deserve to breathe life into our vision for this community. We deserve to be heard. If you arrest us for wanting to bring hope, then bring it on. We will not be afraid. The chant morphed again, reaching scorching heights. We will not be afraid. We will not be afraid. And in that moment, everything crystallized into clarity for Emma. She caught a glimpse of her parents at the back, tears gleaming in their eyes, her father nodding slowly, understanding dawning. While fear still lurked in their expressions, so did pride, a realization that their daughter was not the shadow they had tried to confine but rather, a beacon of light and hope. As the sirens faded into the night, Emma and her community stood together, no longer merely fighting against authority but embracing the power within themselves. The shift was palpable, a turning point where the narrative changed from one rooted in fear to one filled with hope. The officers, caught up in the radical shift around them, took a collective step back. The crowd surged forward, and for the first time in forever, Emma felt free. In that shared moment, she and her community had reclaimed their future from the grasp of doubt. And standing tall among them, Emma finally felt truly seen. She was no longer just the daughter of her past, she was a woman of her own making, ready to embrace the future with others beside her. Together. She shouted one last time, the fervent renewal in her heart echoing into the night. Together. The crowd thundered back, their hope bursting into the open sky of possibility. United under the light of their resolve, something miraculous stirred in that moment, a real transformation. And as the echoes of their voices lingered like a sweet melody in the air, Emma knew this was just the beginning. This was their stand. This was their story. And they would write it together. Now, it's your turn to take action. You need to subscribe now if you want to continue witnessing these incredible transformations. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like right now to fuel this movement and feed that algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this empowering ending. Let us keep the conversation going. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation. Your support is crucial in spreading the message of hope and resilience.